Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to try this for a second time. I've done this once and it, uh, the volume was too low or something. Now, subscribe, like, share, do whatever you got to do, but listen to the end of this. This person has the same point of view as I do, except this person actually lives in the same town that Kaylee Jones is from, where she ran away from. They live there. They have a family there. They know the area. And this is going to have two different, these are two different comments. The first comment is one that they wrote on the second because they thought they lost the first one, but they had actually went ahead and posted it. So listen to it, and then I'm going to read the second part, and then you'll see all the inconsistencies they're talking about. Okay, this is one of my subscribers, as I said, that lives down there in Georgia. It says, I had a much involved comment typed out prior to losing it. As a native of Carroll County, I am deeply concerned for this child's well being. I am a father of three of my own and can't imagine one of my little girls going missing. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office seemed to have bought into the narrative that she is simply a runaway. I think there are some other extenuating circumstances that need to be explored. There are several inconsistencies with the story provided by the family, and although these are just opinions, I think some of the inconsistencies warrant a closer review. I truly appreciate everything you have done, Nana, in regard to exposing some of these inconsistencies. All other creators I come across immediately vilify anyone who shares a slightly, a slightly cynical opinion of the parents. We have to remember that in 80% of missing persons cases involving children have been found to have involved someone they knew. I think that's why it's important to at least explore all of the possibilities, especially given some of the inconsistencies. Now, before I get started on this one, the word that I seem to cannot say is exacerbate, I believe is the correct word. So when I come up on it, if my tongue does not work correctly, that's the word I'm thinking of, okay? All right, it says number one, as I stated before, why would parents of a teen known to be a flight risk, a 16-year-old girl, 135 plus or minus pounds, even consider placing their daughter on a plane in the most densely populated area in Georgia and send her to Chicago to visit with her brother, knowing that she's a flight risk? This behavior is not consistent with the watchful eye that they so called provided her by isolating her in very isolated areas of Florida and Georgia, homeschooling, and dictating her social media usage, etc. It is not consistent behavior with that mentality. I would never, as a father, dream of putting either one of my children on a plane by themselves to begin with, not to mention the fact that she's a known flight risk that just ran away a few days prior during this February incident. Number two, how would she have coordinated a pickup without the use of a cell phone? I understand there's other applications out there. She did have her Chromebook. However, how would she have coordinated a visit? Number two, how would she have coordinated a pickup without the use of a cell phone? I understand there's other applications out there. She did have her Chromebook. However, how would she have coordinated a visit by an unknown male without there being some data history aside from an address? I don't know if this is fully, I think it's supposed to be if this has fully been explored. People just don't drive, especially in an illegal circumstance, without knowing the details, including where to pick them up, what time would be best, address, how a person would likely elope, that sort of thing. She was said to be without her cell phone for 2 days prior to this incident. While she had the Chromebook and also some other applications, they have found on this It is highly suspect that anyone would drive without knowing the appropriate details. There must be some information missing. Number three, another highly concerning inconsistency to me is that if you knew that your daughter became a flight risk when she took her cell phone, why would you take her cell phone away from her, which is the only way that you know she can be tracked, and then not speak to her for 48 hours? The mother, in her own interview, reported that she was so angry that she gave her daughter the cold shoulder. If you know that your daughter is a flight risk, especially given the circumstances, or so you claim, she ran away not because of alleged abuse, but because that you took her cell phone, what are you going to accomplish? You know she's a flight risk. If you take her cell phone away, why would you then not check on your daughter? The husband left the home at 5:30 on his way out to work. It is a very common practice, at least in my household, to check on all my daughters and my wife prior to me leaving, especially if I get up before, and especially if one of them are suffering from health or behavioral issues. Doesn't seem quite right. Number four, how did a 135-pound plus or minus 5 foot 8 inches 16-year-old girl elope from a second story window without help? I don't know if it's possible. Was there a ladder? Were there any evidence? Was there any evidence of other than the screen that had been popped out of the window that she eloped on her own? This brings up coordination. If she wasn't alone, how did the person know what bedroom? When was that conversation? Number five, another inconsistency. If the alleged runaway or elopement occurred because her cell phone was taken away, or because she was communicating with people that she was forbade to associate with, and the phone was taken 2 days prior to when the coordination of the visit by this unknown male assailant communicated, if this was the true reason for her elopement, how did they communicate how did she communicate details of the pickup, etc., prior to her phone being taken? Number six, there are known areas in the community, primarily a few motels, that have been associated with child trafficking. Previously, why were they not checked? Those would have been the first places I would have gone to look. Has there been any investigation in regard to the cameras at the local Walmart to see if she had gone a day or two prior or recently to obtain a cell phone, as this seems to be the exa- exasperating factor? If so, she would have been visualized on camera at the checkout, at the very least, or on a gas station. Why have they not investigated gas station cameras in the surrounding areas to see if they or may not have spotted, see if they may or may not have stopped for gas, food, supplies, etc.? Someone's being trafficked. It's very likely that they would have to stop at some point. Number seven, one inconsistency is blatantly obvious according to interviews and things that have been done with the family. They report that she took her birth certificate as well as her social security card. Who do we know that just leaves their birth certificate and social security card where a 16-year-old girl can access it? Where was this birth certificate and social security card located? Was it in a curio and or in the mom's jewelry box? A drawer did, or in a drawer? Did she have access to it that would rule this out? Why would you take the trouble to locate and obtain a birth certificate and social security card if you plan to run away, but not the cell phone, which is the primary source of exacerbation and conflict? Everyone knows that teenagers are spiteful. Hell, most adults are spiteful. If I was running away due to this being an exacerbating factor, I would have surely gone to the trouble to take my cell phone as well. Number eight, although I understand the desire for privacy and to not have public people try to not have people prying into your private life, especially after circumstances like this. I think as a parent, I would still want my property searched. There's several acreages back behind the house, and it's adjacent to many, many more wooded acres. And Whooping Creek, knowing the area which I've deer hunted and duck hunted for several years, there's a lot of places to get lost. Why were these areas not searched, and why does Danny have such an issue with people searching if you have nothing to hide? Why not explore at least this option? I understand the Carroll County Sheriff's Office did do a preliminary search. However, usually in missing persons cases, it is common to canvass the area, walk through the woods. A full-on search is usually performed. Danny seems to be completely against this. Either that or he just doesn't want any unwanted attention, which I understand as well. Number 9. Another inconsistency that I find, or at least a curious matter, is the fact that Kaylee was due to have a doctor's appointment with a psychiatrist to obtain a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, which may or may not be an extenuating circumstance. I mean, how would you feel if you alleged abuse and if the abuse was actually occurring? No one believed you. And then your mother and father, under the guise of proper care, were going to essentially obtain a diagnosis that could discredit you at any point and take away some liberty. Number 10, why force the narrative of a runaway immediately? The 911 call transcript, she immediately assumes that Kaylee ran away. I understand she had a history of this. However, my first instinct as a parent is not to imagine that my child ran away, and certainly not was a victim of trafficking. It is a thought that doesn't occur. I'm sure that, like most parents, you try to figure out the last place you'd be in any problem that you've had any mention of. Any adverse happenings over the last several weeks, and I'm sure that is a thought. However, in most parents' minds, when they wake up and their child is not where they're supposed to be, the instinct is to begin frantically searching, reporting that they're missing or they're not there. You have no knowledge of where they could be. It seems a little suspect, but the first instinct of Brenda during the 911 call is that she ran away and ran away with somebody she possibly met online. Although this is a common thought, it's usually not the very first instinct when giving a missing persons report. Most of us would say things like, "My child is missing and I don't know where she's at. I think she did this or that." Not "she's run away," in saying that you significantly limit the investigation by assuming that she's running away. It also distances the parents from any involvement. How thoroughly was the home searched? Did they look for any missing items in the wardrobe? Did they look for things that were missing, such as knives, firearms, anything like that, to suggest that maybe she was going on an extended stay somewhere in the woods, etc.? No, I believe not. And guys, that's the opinion of someone who lives locally to Kaylee and her parents. Obviously, they live very close if they've been hunting behind their house. So, you tell me what you think. You tell me, do you think that law enforcement needs to go back and do a thorough search of the house and the grounds and investigate a little bit more about where Kaylee may be? Tell me your thoughts in the comment boxes below, guys. And I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to pray for all the missing kids.